that she's undeserving, unloved, all of these things. And I'm like, bestie, you and I have some of the same triggers. Scenes that he has described that make me want to launch out of my body. You put me in this enchanted sleep and she's still like, sir, I have zero idea what you're talking about. And then he just like runs away. Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new. I'm so excited that you're here and I hope that you're having the most wonderful day of your entire stinking life. We are starting a weekly reading vlog and I'm not gonna lie, the reading is chaotic. I am currently reading 3 different books, very different genres. The other books that I want to read for this week as well are going to be just absolutely all over the place. I'm continuing with my October TBR and I'm catching up on my September TBR for books that I wasn't able to squeeze into September, but I still really want to read. So if you're excited, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and let's talk about my first reading update. So at first I wasn't planning on vlogging this book. I've already started it. I am technically 230 pages into it, and that is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. And I had to like put it down for a couple days, so I figured it's serendipitous that I'm starting this vlog and we're getting back into A Study in Drowning and I'm loving it so much that I was like, we're gonna talk about it. So the reason I say I'm technically on page 230, I've been listening to the audiobook, and the last section that I listened to on audio, I was doing other things and a lot happened, so I'm kind of like backtracking. I also decided that I wanted to start annotating this book, so I had to go all the way back to the beginning and just kind of sift through the chapters of bits of writing and quotes and dialogue that were really catching my attention, because this writing style is blowing me away. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I've said this before and I will continue to say it. Any book that has incredible dialogue always gets me. Like, they're typically 4 if not 5-star reads for me, and this book falls into that category because the dialogue between the two like rivals slash love interests, it's so good. They're both super intelligent, they're witty, they're bantery, they are not afraid to hurt each other's feelings, they swear at each other, it is just so funny, and they drive each other insane. Like, they get under each other's skin so well, and that is just one of my favorite things of all time. This book kind of reminds me of House of Salt and Sorrows. However, this writing is a bit more put together. This writing really stands out head and shoulders above House of Salt and Sorrows. Even though I did like that book, I gave it 3 stars. But the vibes of this like drowned world, these crumbling castles, these molded, dusky, damp, everything is just damp and rainy. You know those days when it's foggy everywhere and you can't really see anything, and it's like not fully raining, but it's just kind of misting all day, and it leaves you with this dampness that seeps into your bones and you just feel cold and wet and gross? That is what this book gives in terms of atmosphere. It just leaves you feeling like you can't get fully dry, which is the worst feeling. It's so uncomfortable, but this book has such dark, ominous, uncomfortable, like teetering on uncomfortable, but the writing is so beautiful that it's like trying to ease you into something bad, really bad that's going to happen. Let me leave you with just a quote. It's not going to spoil anything, but I think it's going to give you a really good sense of the writing of this book. There was something wrong here in Hiereth, in perhaps all of the bottom 100. Old magic and wicked, or worse, ambivalent gods. The Fairy King had more power here. The unreal world was so close to breaking its fetters, and Effie had walked right into the center of it, into this sinking house at the edge of the world. So I'm almost caught up to where I actually left off. So I listened up to chapter 12. I'm actually about to take JMO for a walk, and I'm going to re-listen to that section. I'm hoping to make some more good progress in this book today. I just have so many things that I want to say about this book that I don't know where to start. So I guess I'll start with, I listened back up to and annotated up to my page 230, chapter 12, where I originally left off. I'm starting to have issues because I literally ran out of the tab colors that I've been using, which is so frustrating, and I don't have another one that are these same colors. So now, for what I have left of the book, which is, I don't know, maybe like 35%. I need to figure out what tabs I'm gonna use. But I swear I have been tabbing almost every single chapter. Like the passages in this book, the descriptions in this book, the dialogue, which I know I already mentioned, is exquisite. I am screaming. There was a one bed trope in this. And it's starting to get even more ominous that something bad is going to happen. I'm not going to talk about spoilers, but there's just so much that I want to say about this book. There's a lot of themes similar to House of Salt and Sorrow, where our main character, Effie, is struggling with the difference between fantasy and reality. But to be honest, they seem so blended in this world that I don't blame her for struggling with, and is what she's seeing like actually real, or like what is reality? She's questioning her sanity, and some of her biggest fears, which she talked about, are basically that no one's gonna believe her and that she is kind of mad and no one's gonna take her seriously, that she's undeserving, unloved, all of these things. And I'm like, bestie, you and I have some of the same triggers. I choose to live in fantasy books because sometimes reality can just be too much. Relatable queen, we love it. So I'm excited to listen to more. I'm gonna do so right now. We'll see how far we get. I think if I really wanted to, I could finish this book today. The audiobook is incredible as well if you want to get your hands on it.
Stay till the morning. Tell me you want it. You know I go on and on, 'cause you're too important. I'm honest, too honest. Know if you touch.
Hi friends, it's the next day. I finished A Study in Drowning yesterday. I gave this 5 stars. I also think that the topics that are talked about in this book were executed to perfection. It really talks about the experience of a woman. The men in this book are so misogynistic. Like, that was definitely a main point of the book, and there are parallels to Effie and other females having similar experiences. And the way that Effie was obsessed, rightfully so, with her favorite book of all time called Angharad, because she related and felt seen and felt validated by reading her favorite book ever since she was a child over and over and over again, because it really just spoke to her and made her feel like she was so much less alone in the world. And I'm so happy that I decided to go back through and like annotate it, even though I was kind of just listening along with the audiobook. I got to a point where I was like, I know that if I don't annotate this book, I'm going to regret it. It was really interesting. I posted a poll on my Instagram stories the other day about annotating, and I was like, do you like to annotate? Yes, I love it, or no, it's too much work. And the poll was pretty 50-50. I agree. Like, sometimes annotating can feel like a big task, and if you want to just like fly through a book, you might not want to take the time to annotate it. However, I feel like annotating can really elevate a reading experience and just help you, number one, romanticize reading a little bit more. Where I talked about in my last vlog, which was my reading vampire romance vlog, I talked about how I transitioned to doing just one video a week instead of two because I started to feel with my reading like I was just trying to like fly through and finish books for the sake of finishing books. I feel for me that annotating is something I can do to really help me immerse myself in the book, make sure I'm paying attention to all the little details. It helps you to romanticize your reading because you're like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna put on a cozy ambient room, I'm gonna get my annotation supplies, and really just delve into what this book is giving. The next book that I need to give some updates on. So I have started, I'm probably 15% or maybe 20% of the way into the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. That is the world's longest title. So in this vlog, I'm probably just going to refer to it as Slaying Vampires. I don't know what it is. I have been on like a Grady Hendrix kick this year. I've read, this will be my third book of his that I'm reading. What I really love about Grady Hendrix is he's such a campy horror writer. I love how realistic and imperfect he makes his characters. And in the past 3 books that I've read of his, it's almost like he sets up his books like a contemporary fiction. He is just dropping you right into the middle of his characters' lives. There's so much going on. There's a lot of interconnected relationships, whether it's with family, with friends. They're always very messy, complex. You feel like you're a fly on the wall in like a very realistic situation. But then seemingly out of nowhere, he starts to add in these like horrific elements. Scenes that he has described that make me want to launch out of my body so that I don't have to experience what I'm feeling. Like, so disgusting, but I keep reading his books, so clearly I'm obsessed with it. So the updates that I'll give so far, the characters are so funny. Our main character, Patricia, is a mom of 2. She has a husband who's a doctor who's honestly such a POS. Like, I hate him so much. He's so annoying. And she's also taking care of her mother-in-law. The extent of Patricia's Southern hospitality makes these terrifying scenes. Like, we've had one true terrifying horror scene so far. It makes it so laughable because she's trying to be like nice and pleasant and polite in a situation where anyone else would be running for the high hills. I need to read a good portion of that today because I'm buddy reading that book with my friend Sarah and my friend Felisa. And yesterday they read 10 chapters. The goal is to catch up on the pages with them and probably read a little bit more. So I might be reading like 15 chapters of Slaying Vampires today, and I will check in with y'all a little bit later.
I'm on it. Just say the word and I'll give you up. I can't, don't act like this ain't a good time. I'll be in a lifetime. It's been like this for a while. I gave you all my life. Stay till the sunrise when it's only us. Oh, let's be for real. Now you're scared to fall in love. I want you still. I could put in all the work. I'll keep you from hurting. Baby, I'll always be here. Even in 100 years, I want you still. 'Cause I want you still. I can't deny, won't even try if it.
Besties, we went on a little adventure today. I went down the street to the Nespresso store because I only had like a couple of my espresso pods for my Nespresso left. Talk about a tongue twister. So I went to the Nespresso store, which is in the mall, and then I was like, let me just walk around. I haven't gotten like new clothes for fall given it's literally 100 degrees today. I ended up trying on some sweaters in H&M and I was like, these are cute, but like, I don't know if I should be getting sweaters. And then I went into Aritzia, which is always dangerous for me because there is always something that I can find to buy in Aritzia. And I ended up getting this really, really cute, super comfy and super soft, like black dress that goes down to like ankle length. And then I got this new sweatshirt, which is so comfortable. And I was just thinking through it now that I came home, and I'm like, I wouldn't allow myself to buy sweaters because it's hot out, but I allow myself to buy sweatshirts. Sweatshirts are like books to me. Like, I buy sweatshirts without fully thinking it through. I have 2 drawers full of sweatshirts and I just keep buying them, but I love them. And then I never get rid of them either. Like, that's the other thing, is I will never throw away a sweatshirt. And I have all of Ross's sweatshirts to wear too. Like, it's a problem. But anyways, I read a little bit more of Slaying Vampires. I'm now up to chapter 15, so I've only read about 5 more chapters. But we need to talk about the rats that are in this book, because chapter 12 probably scarred me just as equally as Selling a Haunted House did with the puppets. The way, like, what happened with the rats in that chapter horrified me so much. And I watched Ratatouille, didn't have a problem with it, never thought that rats were, you know, they're like not my favorite thing in the whole world, but I haven't been afraid of them. I will never recover. The dog, Miss Mary, no, that was not it for me. So after I read that and the couple chapters following, I was like, I need a break. I need to get out of the house. We're taking a reading break. I'm still not fully recovered from those chapters, but I'm gonna start reading again to get up to, I have to get up to chapter 25, so I still have 10 more chapters to read, and I will give you another reading update. Good morning, friends. You might be able to hear my air fryer in the background. I'm currently making meatballs with sauce as my lunch, so apologies if you can hear that. But good morning. I have some updates on Slaying Vampires. I did hit my page goal, or like read my whole section yesterday. I actually read a little bit more than 15 chapters, and I started another book. So this morning, JMO and I went for a nice long walk before it gets like super crazy hot, before it gets to 100 degrees. And I started listening to a new audiobook, The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I read her Daughter of the Pirate King this past summer, fell in love with her YA romance writing style. I heard that The Shadows Between Us is like a Slytherin romance. That's the atmosphere and mood of the book. So I've been very excited to pick that up, and my audiobook hold came in on Libby. So started that book. I'm 15% of the way into it, and I feel like I need a little bit more time to decide how I'm feeling. Right off the bat, our main character actually isn't my favorite, which is interesting because I loved the main character in Daughter of the Pirate King. This one, we haven't seen too much of the Shadow King quite yet, so I think that's what's like impacting my opinions, and I just need more to fully decide how I'm feeling about it. So that book, our main character she's the second daughter to a family of high society, so her older sister has been getting all the attention for so long. Alessandra is tired of being overlooked, so she concocts this plan to be able to like get more attention and that is to woo the Shadow King, marry him, and then kill him to take the kingdom for her own. He's the Shadow King, so he's like cloaked in darkness. The shadows talk to him. We've just found out that he has a dog and he like loves animals, so that's cute. I'm going to listen to a bit more of it today. I have some laundry to do and fold and put away, so that's going to be my audiobook time for the day. And then like I said, I read over my section of 15 chapters. I think I actually read like 17 chapters of Slaying Vampires yesterday. I've never been so outraged by a book before that's detailing a feminine experience of just feeling so powerless and out of control, and like everyone else is controlling your life and you have no say in the matter. Insane. And it's really funny because A Study in Drowning also depicted an extremely misogynistic society with horrible, gross, misogynistic pig men, and there was only like one good guy in that whole story. Slaying vampires, all of the men are absolute garbage trash. Like, I need for all of the husbands, this vampire rat king man to die. And I'm not gonna give context to that if you haven't read the book, because I don't want to spoil anything, but oh my gosh, like reading it yesterday, there's one chapter in particular, I think it was chapter 21. I read it and I felt outrage. It was mind-blowing, and I had to like read a little bit past my section because I was like, tell me that something happens or this gets better, and it hasn't gotten better yet. So I don't know if we're planning on reading any more of that book today, because my girlies have to kind of catch up to where I read. If you've read Slaying Vampires, please let me know how that book made you feel. Like, just tell me some of the thoughts that ran through your head when you were reading it, because like, I don't even know. I honestly don't know.
It ain't you, babe. Done with goodbyes. Look in my eyes. Tell me you feel the same. Don't act like this ain't a good time. Being in love time. It's been like this.
I have read quite a bit more of The Shadows Between Us since yesterday. I just got off some reading sprints with Cami and Rachel, which was so much fun. I'm now up to 69%. I'm almost done with this chapter actually in The Shadows Between Us. What I found really impacted my reading experience was switching from the audiobook to the ebook. So I'm definitely liking it a lot more. I know I've read a lot more since my last update. I think I was at 15% last update. I will say Alessandra isn't my favorite main character. I feel like her motivations for what she's trying to do to kill the Shadow King, it's not that they don't make sense, but it's kind of like, why is she so aggressively pursuing this just because she like didn't get any attention when she was younger? Like, it just feels a little odd that she's so like, I am going to kill the Shadow King because I'm so tired of being like second place to my sister or like not getting attention. I really like Callius. I think that he has an interesting perspective. His motivations and his behavior for me is a little bit more believable, and so now that we're getting a lot more interactions between the two of them and we're getting into a lot of the little romancy bits, really like that. And then I do like all of the court drama between all of these like noble families, noble girlies, the noble men that are in the story. I think that that's really fun. And then we did get an interesting explanation to why he's the Shadow King, because seemingly there is no other magic in this book besides the fact that the Shadow King and his family line was blessed or cursed, whatever way you look at it, with this ability to like wield shadows. No one else has any magic. So that's a little bit odd. One of the elements of this book that is impacting my reading experience in more of a negative way is just that there was zero world building in this at all. Like I said, we get an explanation for the magic when you're like 50% of the way through the book, but right in the beginning, all we really get is Alessandra explaining her family dynamic, how her mother died when she was young, her sister is her father's favorite daughter, and her sister's already married, so she's always felt like second place. You really don't get any other detail about the world, other characters, like nothing at all. It worked for Daughter of the Pirate King because that is more of like a low fantasy, right? Like we had pirates in our world as well. There's much less explanation that comes with that. This one, where there is those magical elements and there's some important details, it just feels like you're not getting the full picture, or you're not getting all of the details that you would need to be fully immersed and maybe a little bit more invested in this world. It's feeling like maybe a 3-star. I only have an hour and a half left in the book. That is very doable. Yesterday I didn't read anything more of Slaying Vampires because I wanted to focus on Shadows Between Us. I will check in a little bit later with updated thoughts and feelings. Are y'all ready to see something very satisfying? That is my Libby hold shelf completely cleared. It has not been cleared in like months and months and months. I've been delivering later books that have come in so I could focus on what was on that list, and then Shadows Between Us was the last ebook and audiobook that I had to read. It feels so good. And now I'm going to focus on like my physical TBR a little bit more because I still have quite a few 4 chunkier books that I want to read like from now to the end of the month. But I just finished Shadows Between Us. Like I said, I think it is like a 3-star. Like it was good, it just wasn't great. There was nothing that really set it apart from like other books for me. It was a good, entertaining YA fantasy. It did have some like mystery elements to it, and that's what really captured my attention in the second half of the book. It's a lot of the royal drama and like courtier drama and stuff like that, so that was fun, but I did have a little bit higher hopes for it after the other Trisha Levenseller book that I've read. I think what kind of spoiled the book for me was that it's called a Slytherin romance, and then reading it, I found that statement really had no bearing. It was kind of just a marketing tactic. Now I have the fun choice of what I want to pick up next. I mean, I'm still reading Slaying Vampires, but I only have, I think we're reading another like 5 or 6 chapters of that today, and I do have a bit more time to read. So speaking of my physical TBR, I think I'm going to start Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. I'm excited for this one. My friend Katie read it and she really liked it. This is my first Laura Thalassa book as well, and it's witchy, so I think it'll be a fun time. It's also, I guess, kind of chunky. It's 450-ish pages. So I've given the synopsis for this book a couple times. I will briefly say it is about Celine Bowers. She's hoping to be accepted into this witch coven, but the requirements for being accepted are to come into your powers. So in order to connect to her powers, she decides to take like a solo trip to South America when a nefarious supernatural force tries to drag her plane from the sky. Celine's magic awakens to save her life at a cost. Using her powers, devours her memories one by one. The ancient evil that she woke up that tried to drag her plane from the sky was Memnon the Cursed. He's mistaking Celine for his long dead wife, the wife who betrayed him. So she manages to escape. She begins her studies in her coven, but when Memnon turns up at the coven and witches are found dead across campus, Celine becomes entangled in a dangerous plot. Hopefully we like this one a little bit more than Shadows Between Us. I finished Slaying Vampires last night and I have some very mixed thoughts, unfortunately. So the whole second half of that book was, I think, geared to make the reader feel hopeless, powerless, desperate, like nothing went right for our heroines in that story, and it was depressing to read. But then the ending and the conclusion really frustrated me because, number one, I felt like it was extremely rushed and like not well thought out. It just felt so random. Like it didn't fit with the rest of the story to the point where I was actually upset. Like the ending of Slaying Vampires kind of ruined the book for me. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, which is surprising because I finished How to Sell a Haunted House by Hendrix not too long ago, last week or the week before, and I gave it 5 stars. I have a feeling Grady Hendrix books are just very hit or miss for me. We did finish that book, and I thought it would be a good time to start Bewitched. So I started reading this book this morning. I'm currently on page 42, chapter 6. I'm really enjoying this so far. It has moved very quickly, so everything that's on the back of this book, which I thought was kind of a lot of explanation, but no word of a lie, all of that has already happened, and I'm only on chapter 6. I'm only 42 pages in, so it moves very quickly. I'm really enjoying our main character. Her name is Celine, and she is very approachable. Like, she is one of the girlies, so funny to be in her head, but also the magic system that has been described in this book. So Celine struggles with her magic because when she uses her powers, it pulls from her memories and makes her forget things. I don't know where I was going with that. For the other witches, and also the way that this coven is described, it's kind of giving magical Hogwarts school with big Gothic buildings, and there's just like witches vibing out everywhere, and it seems so fun. One of the passages that describes kind of the school, but then also the magic, just to give you like a taste. The property sits on the coastal hills north of San Francisco, bordered on all sides by the Everwoods, a thick coastal forest composed of evergreen trees. If a person lingers for long enough, they'll see something out of the ordinary, like for instance, the circle of witches sitting on the lawn ahead of me. Their hair and clothes float every which way as though no longer bound by gravity, and the plumes of their magic thicken the air around them. The color of their individual magic varies from bright green to bubblegum pink to turquoise and more, but as I watch, it all blends, creating an odd sort of rainbow in the air around them. How cute is that? And then in this magic system, each witch has their own specific color that their magic appears as, almost like an aura around them, and no two witches' aura color is exactly the same. And I just love that so much. So they tell Celine that she needs to go, like I mentioned, on this journey of self-discovery, and she needs to find a familiar as well as have like a better magical journey than the first one that she like submitted to them in her application for this coven. So easy to read, it's so quick to understand. I'm hoping to get actually a good portion read today, and we'll see how it goes, because I do need to end this vlog. Today is Tuesday. It has to go up on Thursday. Maybe I can read a little bit tomorrow as well. So we'll see how far we can get in Bewitched. We're racing against the clock with this one. Good morning, y'all. I am just finishing getting ready, and then I need to take JMO on his walk. So last night, I only ended up reading a little bit more of Bewitched. I'm now up to page almost 100, I think like 90 something, and I am just absolutely loving it. I'm having so much fun with the book. I think that Laura Thalassa's writing style is so easy to just like fly through. There's no crazy world building. The magic was super fun and easy. I know I read y'all like a little passage of it. I'm super excited for the romance because like Memnon is so funny, and Celine is also, I mean, we get her internal monologue, so all of her thoughts and feelings. The scene where they meet was just hysterical. He gets led to his tomb by his like indigo colored magic, and her magic is the orange color of like sunsets, which opposites attract. It's so cute. She like undoes all of the magic in his tomb. She wakes him, and he's like, oh my gosh, my wife, I've missed you so much, how are you? Starts like making out with her, and she's like, sir, please hold. I am not who you think I am. Not that she didn't like kissing him. She was like, I don't want to stop, but I have to clarify the situation for him. And then he starts to look around the tomb, and he sees all these inscriptions of like Memnon the Cursed, Memnon the Cursed, and he's like, I'm Memnon. I didn't know I was cursed. What is happening? And then he was like, you put me in this enchanted sleep, and she's still like, sir, I have zero idea what you're talking about. And then he like kisses her and puts her in this like enchanted sleep, and then he just like runs away. And that whole interaction was so funny, but also like such a vibe. He's like this massive man, this massive ancient man, which we love. And he had this like scaled armor and like linens on when she first woke him up. But when he gets out of his tomb, like all of his clothes just fall off of him because he's been asleep like for so long. All of his clothing basically just disintegrated. And so he's like almost naked, and she's like, what is my life? Like, what is happening? My panther familiar that I just met is here with me, and we just woke up this ancient naked man who's a hottie but kind of crazy. And now like we're back in San Francisco, we're back at the Coven, we're gonna find out like what's gonna go on there. But I know that I just talked through how they met, but it was just such a funny scene. Like I had to talk about what happened because it's just a vibe. And if you were wondering if you needed to read this book, hopefully that gave you some clarification. I was going to sit down and read a little bit, but then I realized I was absolutely starving. So I did start making garlic confit, which is in the oven. You cook it low and slow for like 2.5 to 3 hours. So we'll see when it starts getting really, really aromatic. I'm gonna check on it, but I set my timer for 2 hours and 30 minutes. But then I was like, okay, but I'm actually like starving and I can't read on an empty stomach. So I started to make some tomato soup. I'm gonna make some sourdough bread and put some vegan butter spread on it from Trader Joe's. This is a very Trader Joe's meal because it's the creamy tomato soup with the cowboy caviar. I saw that recipe on TikTok. I've been on like food TikTok lately because I feel like in the fall and in the winter, making really cozy, savory dishes helps to create that feeling of autumn and fall. And as you can probably tell, I am wearing shorts and like a tank top because it's still like 75 to 80 degrees here, and I'm trying to bring about the fall vibes. And so that's why I'm making some soup, even though it's probably gonna make me sweat. We're not gonna talk about it because I need it to feel more fall than what it actually feels like in California right now. So that is the plan. I'm gonna eat this. I'm very excited for it. And then we're going to read. Couple quick thoughts. First, I have to correct myself because we just found out what Memnon like actually is, and it says, I jolt recognizing what supernatural's magic presents like that. Not a demon, not a vampire or a fae, a sorcerer. They're nearly as bad as demons. A sorcerer's power eats away at their conscience. The stronger one is, the more heartless they'll be, and Memnon feels staggeringly strong. What's interesting about the magic in this book is that obviously there's all these supernatural creatures, but each one's takes their magic from almost like a living essence, if you will. And so that's why, like, as a sorcerer, she says his magic eats away at his conscience. But our main girly pop, her magic eats away at her memories, and they said like it's a magical disease that they've never encountered before and there's no known cure for it. So basically it's going to continue to deteriorate her mind. But my theory is that if this is like a common occurrence with other supernatural beings, I don't think that she's a true witch. I think that she's like another supernatural being, and that's why like her magic is manifesting in this way and like eating her memories, taking her memories, because she's not a witch. That is my theory. I don't know if that's correct. I feel like this plotline will be a bit predictable, you know what I mean? But I'm just along for the ride and I'm having a good time. The only other thing that I wanted to point out was I'm only 114 pages into this book, and there's actually been quite a few typos, like more typos than what I would expect from a traditionally published book. This is by Bloom Books. So far it hasn't really impacted my reading experience. The typos have been very minor things, but it was just kind of surprising that I wanted to bring it up. Hello! Okay, I was able to read quite a bit more of Bewitched today, thankfully, so I read another about 100 pages. I'm almost to the 200 page mark. Final thoughts to conclude this reading vlog. Don't take it too seriously. It's definitely not like literary perfection. It's not something that you're going to like analyze or anything like that. It is just a really fun, interesting premise of a fantasy romance. It's so witchy in the most delightful ways. There's this really interesting element being brought into the mix of like dark magic, like dark, evil, forbidden magic, which we love. So I'm having so much fun. Also, there have been some angsty, spicy scenes that are fairly explicit in a really good way. So overall, having a good time. I think this is probably, if I had to do a prediction, I think this is probably going to be a 4-star. So with that, I need to start editing this vlog because it has to go up tomorrow, but I hope that you enjoyed it, friends. If you did, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I will catch you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next one, friends. Bye!